To work on ankle inversion, there are a few different setups that work well for different bodies, different skeletons. So we're going to show you 3 different options. But before we do, we want to just really clarify the motion that we're going to be asking for, because it's not a motion. As Hannah always says, it's going to be a go nowhere contraction or an isometric contraction. So to start, just throw in a few ankle capsule cars where you're letting your body remember that fundamental motion of the ankle, where you're turning the bottom of your foot like a flashlight one way and then turning it the other way. And as you do, what I'm hoping you feel is that the sides of your lower leg either are shortening or lengthening depending on the direction you're going. And for this setup, we're specifically focusing on inversion, where you're turning the bottom of your foot across your midline. So if you just go ahead and hold that, Hannah. There we go. In this position, you'll see the outside of the leg is long, the inside of the leg is short. And that's important because when we begin our isometric contractions in these various setups, I'm going to ask you to pales contract, aka contract the long tissue, and rails contract, aka contract the shortening tissue. The motion that you want to think about when you're doing that pales in any of these setups is as if you're trying to unwind that inversion. And the motion you want to think about when we're training rails contraction is like you're increasing your inversion. Okay? So that gives you a little primer about the directions we need to think about. The setups that we offer are either from seated, standing, or from your back, laying on the ground. So we'll start here in seated. You're just going to kind of roll that ankle, trying to wedge yourself into the most inversion that you can. And seated offers the nice option of getting that knee out to the side and then using your arm to create the loading or the force. And what you want to find is a clear sensation of stretch along this outside of your ankle, and really try to find the most tense line or line of tension. You know, adjusting or changing your setup slightly to aim or bow the stretch right where you feel that line of tension. Once you have that position set up, your pales contraction again would be trying to sweep the outside of your foot through the floor and therefore starting to contract those tissues that we're stretching. The rails contraction would be trying to turn the bottom of your foot more into inversion or almost up towards your face, creating maybe some contraction or even cramping sensations on that medial side of your calf. Okay, so go ahead and let that one go. Another great option for some folks is to come up to standing. This one has the beautiful benefit of allowing you to apply your full body weight. So sometimes this is a progression, not the place to start. Again, you would bias your ankle into some inversion. You would micro adjust your standing posture to both locate that line of stretch, but also set up your body weight to really load into that stretch to increase the intensity. You can see Hannah stepped over the foot, and that helps her find her line of tension. Awesome option. The pales contraction again for this working leg would be trying to sweep the outside of the foot into the floor and contract those stretching tissues. Rails would be to try to increase inversion, turning the bottom of the foot more towards the wall in this case. Okay. The final setup is going to be from the back, just laying down, grabbing a yoga strap or belt. A band, like a stretchy band, will not work for this. You need something that won't give, and you're going to set that strap up just inside of that ankle or that heel bone. So we don't want to be up near the toes or the ball of the foot, but you don't want to be on the heel bone either. You want to be right on that midfoot spot. And then you got to play with it a little bit, but again, you're going to bias that foot and ankle into some inversion. You can play with which side of the band you're holding. Are you holding with both hands or one hand? And finally, adjust the knee position slightly to feel how that changes the line of tension and the stretch that you're bowing on the outside of the calf. Once you find that, again, the pales contraction is trying to unwind your inversion. The rails contraction would be trying to increase your inversion. Okay? Now, one final note about pales rails in any of these setups is that it's very important that you keep your passive support, in this case the band, but in these cases the floor. It's important you keep that shape even as you start to contract. So what we don't want to see is that Hannah sets up into her passive support, she starts her pales contraction, and then the foot starts to move. That's not what we want, because it's no longer an isometric contraction, and it's not going to let your brain get better at this end range stretched position. All right, so go ahead and find the setup that works for you, do the sets and the timings that we indicate in the drill, and definitely let us know questions, because this one's a little bit finicky to find the right setup. Have a good one.